Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Hello and welcome as the SRF Weekend Warriors rolls into town as part of Super Sunday here on Apex Racing TV. And it's Rudskogen Motor Centre. Earlier on we saw the Formula Fords take to the track. Now it's time for the Ford Spec Racers, and if you didn't join us earlier on, where were you? You missed an absolute cracker that went right down to the wire and threw us a podium that we just were not expecting. Can the Ford Spec Racers deliver the same action? Well, it's a bigger grid, and we know full well, but from seeing these guys, that yes, they can. This is going to be entertaining every step of the way. I am Tim Cox, got Lewis Araya in the virtual production trailer, and as always, I'm joined by the soothing southern tones of Charles Bashal. Charles, welcome along. Well, deep breath, compose yourself, get ready for another barnstormer, I think.
I think that you're right, Tim. Thanks for the welcome. Yeah, it's one of the newer tracks on the iRacing service. So I don't know how much I've seen. A few different. I think we did this with one of the leagues last year that came and visited this track. So it's a very interesting track as far as some of the cornering. So there's a couple of spots, obviously, for good passing. There's some twisty bits. And it's, what do you expect when you're doing SRF? It's going to be 3 wide through all the corners that you expect them to not try and pass. And so, that's what we always look forward to.
That's the thing, isn't it? With the iRacing actual, main promotional video, one of the clips in it is SRF Weekend Warriors going 4 wide around a corner. And that is all you need to know about this series. It says it all in absolute abundance. A microscopic grid this week. Only 36. Only.
Yeah.
Only. I say that. If you're brand new to the series, welcome along. On your first time joining us, we regularly have 45 is normally a low grid by this series standards. It's regularly well into the 50s, and quite often we even max out at the maximum 62 cars permitted within iRacing, which normally brings our PCs on the broadcasting side to a grinding halt, but it's definitely worth it for all the action, excitement, and entertainment we're about to ensue. Qualifying well underway right now. I'll tell you, it's Marco Panero out in front, but, and likewise he is in the points. That's largely due to one little result at Long Beach where Wow, a different league of his own is an underestimation of what he was last week. We'll cover a bit more of that shortly. Felix Miles is in second. If he had to turn up for that extra round, you see the column in the middle, that's denoting how many rounds they've taken part in so far. He would have been a lot closer to Panero. Then it's Dantes Pleaver, Andalo, Arabian, Fleischuzel, Wood, and Renders, and Green. Green took the win earlier on in the Formula Ford, so keep an eye out for him. Running out your top 10 into Spec 2, it's Alan McCain, who, well, really hurt last week. He did. Gibson really took a big chunk out of his lead. It still remains at 53 points. Gary Walbolt third. There's Jackson Cloper, Berry, Simpkins, Montgomery, Wubka, and Justice around at your top 10. And in fact, got Montgomery picked up a third place despite an entertaining race earlier on in Spec 2 in the Formula Fords. Masters class has turned into the Kurt Nunes class. He leads by a whopping margin of around about 80 points there over Tom Gradwell. Adam Bradshaw, he's third, and then, well, some of the more, the big hitting names well down in the championship. Murakami, he's fourth. Then we've got Mitchell Brewster, Kern, Yomani, Antonio Rice down in 8th and 9th respectively, although we haven't seen them too much this season, and that is why. Brad Cathcart rounding out the top 10, but only just because he's only 2 points ahead of Gianni Longian in 11th. Let's talk about Long Beach quickly, though, Charles. Last week, your Marco Panero, different gravy.
Yeah, the last couple weeks has just been the Marco Panero show. I mean, he's just really done something that we haven't witnessed in a long time, and it's just dominate a race. Normally, it's these guys are fuel saving, and it's a last lap battle to see who's going to make it to the end. But not the last. It was a little squirrely there coming through the corner, but no, the last couple of weeks he's just been far and wide better than everybody else on the circuit.
Last week, qualified on pole by half a second. That is a margin unheard of in this series. Massively unheard of. Even the likes of, 6 times championship winner Aeronom, who was really dominating when he was in the series. He wasn't leading qualifying by that sort of level. And then I think he won by, I need to have, I'm sure you correct me, Charles, it was around about 45 seconds I think he cleared the field by in the end. Over half a lap. I mean, yes, there was a bit of contact and incidents behind it, but even so, it was just purely and utterly untouchable. I got the Grand Chelem, qualified on pole, led every lap, had fastest lap of the race, and went on to take the victory.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, it's just been a dominant performance the last couple of weeks for Panero. Maybe he's learned something about this car that he didn't know before, or nobody else has managed to figure out. But whatever he's doing is working. Obviously, we see the qualifying times. It's a little more what you would expect to see, about a 2/10 gap between Panero and Samaus, which is not normally what we would see, right? When you've got basically a second covering the first half of the field.
Still got some, plenty of times out there. For instance, I looked down to 18th place. 700ths of a second behind him is Montgomery, with Jesus Rodriguez a further 7/10 ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, it literally, say 700ths even. You're talking around about 3/10 covering what Joshua Soto, who you can see in your screen there, all the way down to Gradwell in 17th. If you want to take it up to the second mark, it's all the way down to 25th, which is Alan McCain right now. I mean, 15 places covered by a second. It is incredibly close, and some of those in that group there, only separated by 100ths of a second. Forget about temps, and go to see you've got Josh here in the car in the 07 machine, and I wonder what he can achieve. One of the mainstays of the esports series, which broadcasts on a Tuesday night here on Apex Racing TV. Good friend Jake Ginsberg looks after the commentary side of that series, and well, always great racing. They alternate between the Ford Spec races, what used to be the Mazdas, although that has been replaced since then with the VW Jettas, and also the Toyota GR86 in a multi-class, but however the Jettas, the great prize for others there with driver type in real life in that car in the series is involved in. Absolutely scintillating prize, and then of course the F4 as well. So that's a really vibrant series worth checking out if you're ever about on a Tuesday night. And what better way to spend your evening here with us guys at Apex Racing TV. Just seeing Alan McCain, as mentioned, he's seriously struggling with this track. However, he's down in 25th. That might be a little bit representative of it, but even so, still flying well. Favini just ahead of him, and as I was mentioning those times, Charles, although he might be struggling, all he needs is a couple of attempts, and he's going to climb quite a few places, is the Brit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really tight midfield. I was looking down as we were talking about it. P5 to P6, 7 milliseconds, 7 thousandths. P7 to P8, 1,000th. Then another 100th back to P9. So yeah, it's this is what we expect, right? So you get a very sizable group, even though it's a little smaller than what we're used to seeing for this event. But very, very competitive lap times between everybody, and it always ends up making it just a fantastic race to watch and to call.
Oh, it definitely does. 1 minute left in qualifying, so if you want to get another lap in, you need to think about starting it now. Overstreet got bruised and battered early on, however, managed to pull off a great result in the end due to incidents in front of her. Hopefully she'll have a much better result, well, better race even, and will be right at the front this evening here in the SRFs. So
Yeah,
she's looking up into third.
Yeah, she's obviously P7 right now, and she's had a couple of off races, so it's good to see her back. You normally would find her inside the top 10, especially last season. It seems like every race she was inside the top 10, and so ended up with a really good pile of points, and really ended up much higher up the grid in the championship than a lot of her results showed. But she was always out there, and she always, had a really strong finish. So it's unlike her to, as we said last week, I think she finished in the 30s somewhere, maybe just didn't have a really good race. Didn't look like she had a lot of pace, but obviously much better this week.
Definitely a lot better this week, and hopefully, like you say, that continues. Checker flag out in qualifying. Last chance here for drivers to improve. 3,400 separating Panero and Green. That one's incredibly close between them. Sorry, 4 thousandths of a second separating first and second.
That was a great lap by Green.
It was right at the depth. It's what we love to see, isn't it, Charles? Just plucking one out of nowhere, and all of a sudden getting yourself up onto the front row that Jason Green has managed to. But for now, because there's still some drivers out there and still setting decent times, and whether someone can just disrupt the status quo and displace Green off that front row. Let's see Michael G. Nelson, absolute blinder from him. He's up into 5th overall. That's his highest qualifying so far in this series, I do believe, if my memory serves me correctly. So astounding stuff. Ran well early on, although it drops down to 6th, but even so, still his best. As Renders goes 5th, spoke to him early on after the Ford Spec race, sorry, Formula Ford race. There's definitely a Ford vibe, isn't there, about this series now? And yeah, looking forward to the SRF race, and well, I'm sure he will go well here today. For Beanie, he's still on his lap, and that's Andrew Love going slow. I think we're pretty much done for, well, certainly the sharp end of the grid. I don't see anyone improving too much. Megan Overstreet's going to be the last one across the line, whether she can do anything. But no, she's bailed, gone into the pits. That's looking like it's done and dusted, as Michelle Vaglini stars one out there.
Yeah, Panero did manage to find a couple of tenths in his last flyer, so a little bit bigger gap between P1 and P2 for this race. But that's not going to matter because they're going to line up right next to each other, and we're going to see a really great battle. Just looking forward to it.
Indeed, as there is Andres Battoni. Perennial not setting a lap time deliberately. And he will start from the back of the grid and watch him come through. Although can't gain as many places as he normally does, due to the slightly smaller grid size. Normally starts in around about 55th place. Starting all the way at the dizzy heights of 35th. But here's your grid. It's Marco Panera on pole, with Jason Green alongside him on that front row. Row 2 sees Felix Smiles and top Masters qualifier Jorg Marni alongside one another. Thomas Renders has another Masters driver in Michael Nelson for company on the third row. Row 4 is Vandro Dantas, one of the famous four Dantas brothers, and Megan Overstreet joining him. Then it's Pellegrini and Vlaislusa to round out your top 10 of row 5. Row 6 is Joshua Soto alongside Les Noy. With row 7, as we just wait for the click over, there we go. Jason Perry and leader in the Masters Championship, Kurt Nunes. Row 8, that has Christopher Smith and Todd Gradwell alongside one another. And then it's Jeff Jacobson and Simon Mayer on row 9. Top 20 being rounded about by Chris Montgomery and Jesus Rodriguez. Stephen Mitchell and Andrea Favini alongside one another on row 11. Row 12 is Gibson and McCain. Row 13 being Brewster and Bradshaw, the all-B row. Love and Berry, they are behind them on row 14. Row 15, top 30, that's Jeff Wubka and Caleb Pocock. Gary Walbot has David Sweet for company with Aaron Vogler and Michelle Vaglini next to one another. Then it's Andres Bertoni and Flavio Andalo, both not setting times in qualifying. And Hugh Bertram all by himself in 37th. Final row of the grid as we see everyone taking to the grid now, and that beautiful shot. What a shot that is. And behind the Porsche 911 safety car, and well, let's have a bit of a mention to both our sponsors, in fact, for this series. RaceVoice with notifications for upshift, downshift, over rev alerts, corner entry, turn in, and exit speeds. You can go faster with the speed of voice. Make sure you check them out at racevoice.com if you want to go faster on track. And talking about going faster on track, also Apex Racing Academy, who've come on board this season as a sponsor for this fantastic series with track guides, setups, and much, much more. They're integrated into VRS as well as their standalone offering. They have videos, group coaching sessions, one-on-one sessions, and of course with the Nürburgring 24-hour coming up next weekend. What better time than to book some time with one of the pro drivers and enable yourself go faster and beat the competition. Make sure you check out Apex Racing Academy. Oh wow, that was well timed. I say well timed.
Yes.
Probably got through it even quicker than I should have done, because we're only a third of the way through the lap. It's a long old lap behind the safety car here, and well, then we come into the trepidation. I tell you, this cold tyres down into turn 3 where we currently are now, Charles. That is going to be dicey because I think quite a few of these guys will be side by side coming through there, and it's so easy with all the camber and elevation changes just to lose the rear through there. Of course, all the weight in the rear of the car, just like the safety car, the Porsche 911, the engine is in the rear in these things, and they're rear-wheel drive.
Yeah, we'll make things very interesting. Yeah, see, cold tires, downhill braking zone, all the weight in the back. Sometimes that weight wants to come to the front. We've seen it so many times, especially with that. If you're a Porsche fanatic, you will see that try and drive the Porsche GT3. So yes, you know, 3 wide is going to be probably par for the course here. It's a pretty wide track, so they've got plenty of room for racing.
Oh, and they will find that room and some more. We will definitely have 3 wides. Will we even cram in a 4 wide? Remains to be seen. Now, just coming round to the back of the circuit now, a lot long before we're getting away here at Rudskogen Motor Centre in Norway, the track that nobody really knew about, nobody really asked for. iRacing gave it to us and we've come to love it. It's a mainstay in the lower safety categories as Panero leads the pack, rounds turn 14, the final turn, and we wait for the lights. Let's get ready to go racing from Rudskogen, the SRF Weekend Warriors, as we are green and we are go. And Panero gets the jump on everyone, and Jason Green caught napping there He drops down to third, but just looking in the background there, they're 3-1. They're 4 wide even, in fact, as the pack make their way through. Bradshaw caught in the middle of a 3 wide there, nestling his way through. That's McCain just in front of him. Those two have had a good start. McCain at 3, Bradshaw's at 4, Berry just behind him's at 5, Montgomery's at a shocker. He's down 5, Pocock's at 5, Flavio and Darlow's up 6. Well, they're all changing already down in the back of the pack.
Yep, that's exactly what we expect to see here is movers and shakers. You got some moving up, some moving down, but it looks like everybody's clean. I don't see anybody that maybe had to pit that took damage, so everybody got off the line cleanly, and so that's going to make it a really good race. Let's get it going.
Green, something's happened to Samals. He's just lost 4 or 5 places. Now I do wonder, and this is one of the dangers around here. If you get forced offline, it takes a lot, especially in these early stages. Everyone knows the style to get back into that line. If you're an oval racer, it's like being stuck on the high line, nobody pushing you, and if all the speed's on the low line, or vice versa, in fact, you're hung out to dry, and they all come past you like a freight train, and that now means that Felix Samals, after that great start moving up to second, is now down to 5th, allowing Green, Marnie, Renders all ahead of him at the pass. We come round to complete our first lap with Panera leading. There's Green, Marnie leading Masters third overall, Renders, Samals, Nelson 6th, second in class. There's Dantas, Overstreet, Pellegrini, Bajuzal running out in the top 10. And McCain leading that Spec 2 series as on the race. They come for Vini trying to make a bit of a move there on Simon Mayer, who ran well earlier on today, picked up a 2nd place in the Formula Fords, and well, not quite as high up at the moment, but might be even losing a place here potentially to Favini. He's trying to set him up and shift him around to get the move done there, Charles.
Yeah, he's looking for a way past. He had a really good run coming down the straight. Just couldn't find a way around Favini there. So reset, look for the next opportunity. Maybe just stay in his mirrors. Maybe try and force a mistake if you can.
Talking of poor opening laps, Stephen Mitchell's had a shocker. I think he did come off the track slightly, although not spin. He's down 9 places. Chris Montgomery, he's down 7. Andrew Love down 5. On the opposite direction, Bertoni and Darlow, these position climbers there at 7 apiece. Scrap that, Bertoni's got it all to himself as Ian Gibson runs wide and gives the Uruguayan. It's 27th and 8 places now climbed for Bertoni. Next up is Chris Montgomery. He's not, as mentioned earlier, not had the best of the starts, and certainly we're looking to pick him off incredibly easy early on, but they're pretty much one long train all the way from Green in 2nd all the way down to Mitchell currently in 30th. I mean, that's one long line, although, well, moves being thrown here. There goes the 7 and Jason Perry up the inside, just behind them. I think that's Les Noy getting past Kurt Nunes. Trying to recover a bit, and Perry just a little bit slow off the corner. That's going to cause Les Noy to check up a bit. Kurt Nunes comes straight back at him.
Yeah, it's critical for these guys that are in like P2 through P5, 6, 7 to just stay in line, because that gap is already starting to stretch a little bit between Panero and Green. It's up to 1.7 seconds, and you don't want to lose touch with the leader, or we'll have another one of those runaway races again.
Well, I think we're all hoping that that doesn't happen, and I don't know what Panero has found, but he's definitely found something in this car, which is surprising because of how long it's been on the series and how strong the quality is of the drivers behind him. He's definitely hit that rich vein of form, and a part of a season where you really need to make it count. As he's going to come round to start lap 4, he's going to be 1.8 seconds clear of the field, Charles. Well, that's nearly half a second per lap.
It really is. It's just, you know, and we talk about it every week, is these battles are fun to watch. You get these 2 wides and 3 wides and 4 wides, but the problem with that is you lose time to the cars in front, and the cars behind just make up time. And so now, you know, instead of you battling with 2 other cars, you're now battling with 5 other cars, because everybody just kind of closes that gap. So, you know, for the guys that, like I said, the guys that are just right behind Panero, the best thing to do at this point in the race is just stay in line and try and just run as fast laps as you can. and try and close that gap up a bit.
Perry's passed Soto for 11th. May has passed Smith for 17th as well. Feeney also passed Smith as well. But yeah, it's just, well, the remnants of that move happening, let's say happening, still ongoing as Montgomery involved deeply there. That's Pocock and Berry right behind him. Having a right old ding-dong Nabato and Darlow getting involved too, and Gibson going to be up onto the back. And needs to be careful, don't they, Josh? As you said, when you start battling, it's great fun. It's great for us to watch as well, but it does mean then you get backed up into the cars behind you, and you start losing touch with the cars in front of you. It's that tricky conundrum of making up places and having fun versus, well, limiting the amount of places you can make up in the long term of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, you know, it was a prime example. Montgomery got offline, and so one car gets by, then the next car just follows suit, and it's tough to get back into that line because all these cars are just so evenly matched. You get this train going, and yeah, you end up losing 4 or 5 spots at a time.
Here is Andalo just sneaking through up the inside. Philip Berry, job done. Could he, wow, running wide and practically gifted the place from Caleb Pocock there. He's well even into the grass. Ooh, Caleb needs to be careful. He's going to try and make this last of the late breakers here, and this could end in tears as he tries to swoop down from the outside, but Andalo's got it from him. Ooh, I was a bit worried there, Charles. I was a little bit worried, I won't lie.
yeah. Anytime you see a tire dipping in the grass, you have to wonder if that car is going to come back across the track out of control. Because as we know with iRacing's grass model, it's very, very slippery. There is no traction, and so sometimes you switch from driver to passenger very quickly.
I think you've just summed up my iRacing career there in one sentence, Charles.
I know it's a lot of mine for sure.
Yeah, I will second you on that one for sure. There's Veglini trying to get the move done, and can he get it done? That's on Walbolt, although Walbolt instantly fighting back. And this is the thing with this circuit. We saw it earlier in the Formula Fords. If you can just defend that inside line, it is incredibly challenging to pass here and get the move done. There's, Jeff Jacobson into the pits. I mean, he can get home. I mean, that's brave, but he can get the move done and get home with fuel on board. And this might be inspired because he's going to come out into a lot of fresh air. There he is behind the wall, and that means he can set, he's not going to be tripping up over anyone. He's not going to, he can set some, decent lap times. I think that might be potentially a little bit inspired there.
That it may be, yeah, with a smaller field that we're used to, and it looks like this track has a good bit of draft with it. So yeah, if he could just touch on and get on the end of this train, he very well could make up several spots by just doing the little undercut, which we've seen with mixed results this season.
We have. It's either worked dramatically or, well, in your favour or not in your favour. Here's Jorg Marnie. What are we about to see here from him? Ooh, I was talking about Samals. Yeah,
it was.
Runs it in incredibly deeply. A mistake from him, and that just gifts Jorg Marnie 4th overall. There, so Jason Green pulled away from those guys.
I don't think that was Smith. I think that was actually Renders. Was that Renders that got past? Because Monty is behind Samals still. So
no, he got so right. So Marnie passed Samals. Samals then reclaimed the place.
I got you.
Shortly after. So, as per usual, Paul Lewis in the production booth with so many cars on track, even the smaller grid at 37. Although Hugh Bartram did not make the grid, so only 36 runners and riders here today from Rudskogen Motor Centre. However, as ever, challenging to try and keep on top of all the action here and keep you fully up to speed with exactly what's happening. I do feel for the producers, any of them that end up having to cover this series, because it's like, where do you look at it, it's like, where do I begin with this? when you see passes constantly happening, people coming off the track, crashes, incident, drama, excitement in absolute abundance from minute 0 all the way up to minute 40.
Yeah, for sure. And, we talk about this being a small grid, and it is for us, right? So Spec Racer, as we say, is usually 55. If it's a low day, you'll get 48. But for iRacing in general, these are very, very large grids. Most of the time you're running 30 cars or less on an iRacing grid, unless you're talking about a multi-class race. So to see 36 out here is still, for the producers, I couldn't do it. It's a lot. It's too much work. My hat's off to all these guys. That they do a great job every week.
Caleb Pocock's had a bit of an issue somewhere out on track. Unfortunately for him. So into the pit lane is Smith, McCain, Pocock in too as well. Tony's dropping through the order. I wonder whether he's had a bit of an issue somewhere. Oh no, he's jumped to the pit, so that's looking like it's all gone wrong for Andreas Petoni, who had made up a whopping amount of places. I think he was at 15 or 16. Actually, it must have been 17. Just looking. Oh wow, there we go. That's what happened.
Wow, just one car looked like it caught the inside curb and checked up.
I think it might have been Bradshaw.
It may have been Bradshaw, and just as we see another one, that's Pocock, and who was the car that hit him?
I did not manage to catch that one. I will not lie to you whatsoever, Charles. Let me have a little bit look through our fantastic event viewer and try and see. I think it might have been Andrew Love who made contact with Pocock, because he passed him literally just after it. So I think that may well have been Andrew Love who made the caressed, shall we say, Pocock's car. Meanwhile, back to live pictures. Lesnoy 15th, and ahead of us are Kurt Nunes and Jesus Rodriguez having a go at one another down into turn 1, and Rodriguez gets the move done over Nunes. Different classes, so it does not affect class standings. However, overall, Rodriguez up into 13th and now up 7 places. He's climbing up in front of them. Overstreet has just got past Renders. As we stick with this battle here, well, there you go. That confirms what has happened a little bit further up the field. That's an intriguing battle, isn't it? Overstreet, Renders, Pellegrini locked in, and now starting to see these little micro pockets and battles emerge up and down through the field as they start to spread out a little bit. Not by much at the 13-minute mark, though, Charles. Not by much.
Not by much. Yeah, this is still a really strong battle here from P5 back. The leaders, obviously, Panero Green, Mouse, Monty, have kind of stretched those gaps a bit and are fairly comfortably ahead of this group. But yeah, Overstreet's having a great race, already moved up into the top 5.
Now, the interesting one for me, Charles, is Christopher Smith, all the way down in 30th. As we just see the battle here for, well, essentially 5th place, which is Overstreet leading this gaggle of cars, and finishes all the way down in Blythe in 11th. Smith is the highest driver to have pitted so far down in 30th, and has quite a bit of a buffer as well. Kuzma Lesnoy is into the pits, so that's going to be another one as a bit of a barometer for just how well Smith is doing. But again, the RD Sim Sport driver in that pocket by himself, and they will set some quick times for sure. With nobody around him, nobody to trip over, nobody to worry about. Where is he going to finish come the end of the race? Lesnoy hasn't even reached, well, he has reached his pit box. He's out, so I think Lesnoy's going to come out ahead of Smith. Now, Lesnoy came in from around about 16th place. So he's your new leader of drivers that have taken to the pits so far as we return to this battle. Well, for 5th place, that's in Phillips, so much of the pack.
Yeah, they're having a good run. Yeah, I was looking at Smith's timing and scoring. He's basically down 15 positions. He was running around 15th place or so when he came into pit. Those cars are running mid-32s. His last lap was I just saw it, 31.9. So he is actually making up a little bit of time by running in that little pocket by himself. So we'll just have to wait and see how much more it's going to pay off. And as you said, Leslie came
Somebody's
out
having
of
a
pit.
spin, Charles. I've just seen a big puff of smoke in the background, like hair ties screeching, and I think it might be Aaron Vogley who's had that issue. Well, at Foxbox Racing, it's looking that way as we're seeing a replay. I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here. There goes the rear. Oh, nearly saved it. Nearly saved Aaron.
Cost him a little bit of time. No damage, obviously. Lost a position, but able to continue on. You got to let those tires cool off a bit, and then he should be able to get back to racing.
This thing with this track, it's a weird hybrid of old and new, isn't it? Where you have big runoff areas, and in certain parts of the track, the barriers are quite close, but due to the way, you're turning the car through whatever corner where the barriers are close, you actually then means you do have quite a bit of room. It reminds me almost like a bit of a Brands Hatch, I would say.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, obviously you being British and me being American, you go Brands Hatch. I would went Watkins Glen. Very similar, some elevation, some grassy areas, some runoff areas, especially with the updated track layout that we've got for iRacing, where they've paved off quite a few of those runoffs, especially on the back half of the circuit. So yeah, it's very, very similar to those. I think this is a 2-mile circuit. I think is what I remember seeing. 1.9.
Correct. Yeah.
Like that.
2.022 miles, if you want to be precise.
Well, there we go. So not the biggest track, but obviously, some of these drivers have done a really good job of just figuring this track out. Because, like I said, this is a fairly new track for iRacing. So, if you're used to running some of the open wheel cars, F3, F4, Spec Racer, obviously, I think some of the single make cars like the GR86 or maybe the Clio probably run here also, I would guess. So some of these drivers have done a really good job of getting this track figured out and are showing some really good pace, and it's paying off for them.
But being free content, I think that definitely helps it quite a bit. And I think as well, if it was a paid track, I don't think it would have been that popular, because it's not like it hasn't got the pedigree and the notoriety of a Spa or something, a Silver State, something like that. At the end of the day, it's just the national circuit in Norway, but it's one that's come along and we've grown to love. Talking of which, Felix Mouse has got past Jason Green for second place and pulled out nearly a second gap already.
Is Harry pitting?
No, he is out.
Oh,
According to my end, is that a blink, or is he actually? He has not come into the pits.
That was a blink. That was a very long blink. Is what that was. Yeah, he's still blinking. He's having some connection issues there.
Well, that's a scary time for the drivers
really
right behind him. We've all been there. There's Michael Nelson, and oh wow, you've got no idea where they are, none whatsoever. And Nelson's got Weiss Lusel right behind him, and 2 turns behind, and it's like, well, what do I do? Because they disappear, and then you never quite know, especially if you want to try and follow them closely, like Nelson wants to, and he wants to get past. I mean, let's not forget, Nelson didn't have the best of starts. He's down 4 places from where he started. Well, there you go. That's why it gets scary, because all these things reappear, and you're right on top of them. And in these cars, I mean, you alluded to it earlier, didn't you, Charles? Where when you go through a corner, you can't throw out the anchor, because then that just makes the rear break away from you. And you race, but equally, what do you do? Because you don't want to run in the back of them, because that's going to injure a race too. It's scary times for Nelson.
It really is. It's just, and yeah, as you see, he's trying to maybe find a way around and get past his car, but obviously you just don't know what's going to happen next. And it's so I think for the most part, most drivers just kind of say, okay, you know what? As he's doing here, I'm just going to back off a bit. We'll see if his connection sorts itself out, stabilizes a bit, and then we'll try and attack again in a lap or 2.
Running wide a little bit there, just didn't have the final corner as Joshua Soto into the pits. It will be interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Les Noy, because they pitted from around about the same sort of position when they came in. Likewise, for Smith has fallen by the wayside against Les Noy. 3 seconds the gap between those two. Right now, Podgy's even 6 seconds, isn't it? So that's looking like Smith is out of the equation, and some big names not going to have good results here this evening. McCain all the way down in 32nd at the moment. Will be adjusted obviously further around his pit stops because he didn't stop early on lap 7, currently on lap 13. Well, 13 looks completed on to 14. There's Pellegrini gets a bit wrong on Dantas. They're trying to sneak his way through.
Yeah, a little dirt trekking by Pellegrini there at the 69 car. Just, coming through that sideways and just having a good time. But managed to hold it. Like I said, it's, these cars are not the easiest thing to drive because I think I think it's one of those that you have to really enjoy driving this car and just spend time with it. Because like I said, it's not what we would normally see. It's not GT3s or LMPs or prototypes. So these drivers are having fun, and he's doing a really good job, just kind of hanging on to the tail of that car, and doing some battling with the cars around him.
Just over half race distance. Let's have a bit of a recap of where we're at currently. Marco Panera leads by 5 seconds now. He's on fire. Right now. Nobody can touch him. Felix Miles in second. Jason Green going to run out of that podium with Yogmani fourth overall. We're leading Masters. Then it's Overstreet, Renders, Pellegrini, Dantas, Perry, Nelson in 10th after dropping 4 places after he started. Then by Schlusel 11th, who he's had a bit of a mixed bag of a race too. Jesus Rodriguez, he's up 8 places into 12th, so a positive story there. Mayer up 5 into 13th. Tom Gradwell then in 14th. And Darlow, he's up an incredible 21 into 15th place right now. You will drop a fair few to pit stops. When I say that, I might actually do because he's in a really strong position. He's onto the back of Gradwell, so that could be a really strong result for the Brazilian. They've got Brewster, Bradshaw. Your leader in Spec 2 is Gibson in 18th. Then Mitchell and Vogel in 20th. With Aaron, he's at 13 places, so he's an absolute flyer. Gary Warbolt's up 10 too, but those two are going to drop a few after the pit stops. Highest driver has stopped so far is Joshua Soto in 23rd. He's just not far off the back of that Jeff Wibker. So Soto, the man to watch right now. We stick with this battle that's going to go, I think, all the way down now to the wire. Who can fuel safe their way around this one? Overstreet, Renders, Pellegrini, and Dantas.
Yeah, we always kind of wonder who's doing fuel saving and who's not. Obviously it's easier to do that when you're behind 2 or 3 cars. But yeah, let's give a shout out to Nelson. He had a really good qualifying run to end up in the top 10, and has managed to hold on to that position to stay P2 in the Masters class. He's doing a great job tonight.
Oh, he is. He is absolutely flying. It's on for his best result of the season. Oh, something's between Montgomery and McCain further down as those guys nearly come to blows themselves. There's Bradshaw. Wow, that's Gibson right behind him. It's the leader. No, sorry, that's Brewster in front of him. Of Bradshaw. You see both up 9 into 16th and 17th respectively. Half a second separating them, although struggling for a bit of pace, it looks like a pair of them. So I would say Bradshaw maybe is feeling like a little bit held up behind Brewster. Would be my interpretation of this one.
I think that you're right. I think that's what it looks like from my position as well. Like he's just getting held up. Doesn't look like it's too much. He's not really trying to force the issue to get around. But yeah, Gibson and Vagley are also having a really good race in Spec 2. Vagley, I don't think he doesn't make all the races, but I think he's usually battling for the top of that class when he's here.
Still got battles aplenty up and down the field, haven't we? Here's Gradwell versus Andalo. This is for 14th, and there is Andalo's mentioned up 21 places so far. He's even after the pit stops, looks like he's in for an absolute sterling result. Is the Brazilian?
Yeah, he's
from Norway. About as far as he can get, probably from his home nation here, up all the way up in Norway.
I think that's probably true. Yeah, he's about a half second faster per lap than the cars he's tracking down. So yeah, it's just finding the spot to make that move and keep moving up the order.
Wobot and Swig into the pits for them. They will come out much further down through the field as they were just in front of the pit stoppers, of which Lesnoy still leads. Sorry, Joshua Soto still leads that battle of the drivers that have stopped so far in 21st. So just start to merge onto our timing tower is Soto. Lesnoy has stopped as well. Wubka in 23rd hasn't. So he's dropped a couple of places, hasn't he? With Kurt Nunes, who has stopped, and Smith also has stopped. Running up what you can see on the timing tower on the left hand side of the screen right now, viewers. But still, this battle reigns on, and well, it's a bit of a shame in some ways because they were pretty much up onto the tail end of the Overstreet battle for 5th, but that battling between themselves has dropped them down as we are talking of said battle. They've all compressed up again with one another.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, I was looking at Soto's pit stop. As you said, he's the first of the pitters that's back out on the track. He took a change. I think he took a flyer on fuel. So we're going to have to see. We're going to keep an eye on that and see if that pays off for him or not. So he was a second and a half quicker than everybody else during the stop. So I think he took a bit of a gamble, and you know, we've seen people run out on the last lap before. I think we had somebody pushed across the finish line in the past couple of races that just, you know, give it a try, it didn't work, and then get a little helping hand from one of the other competitors.
Just saw there, Dantas desperate to stay onto this battle as they came past Wallball and Swig to lap them. They got incredibly tight to Dantas, really pushed the limits of what he could get away with without making contact. Well, you might argue, did it absolutely to perfection. Still remains in this battle. We have got 1.3 seconds covering Overstreet, Renders, Pellegrini and Dantas at the moment. There's some of them bail into the pits. I think it was Dantas and Renders. Yes, it was. They're in. Wubka's into the pits as well. So, I mean, wow, what has Soto done? Has he done enough to jump on these? Weissschlusel in 2. I don't think Soto will have done enough, though. I could be wrong. I've been proved wrong many times.
Yep, it's going to be close. You just have to wait and see as he comes back around the track and see where all these people come out.
So Dantas and Renders have stopped as we see a replay here. This is Jesus Rodriguez, the Spaniard. Is Aaron Vogley. Lisa Ria?
Yep.
Oh, talking of long, lazy spins, that is about as long and lazy as you can get, isn't it?
I think that's the same corner he spun out last time. I think he's just missing the apex there. Maybe just a little late coming down that hill on the brakes. And just kind of need to reset that line just a touch there.
Renders is still in the pits.
Uh-oh.
He's still stationary. Something's gone wrong for him as he falls down through the order. There he is, right there. Oh, he's only just heading out. So 48 seconds, and roughly everyone's stopping for about 9 seconds now. Producer Lewis has taken the words from my mouth for scenario. That screams to me like a 40-second stop and hold for speeding in the pits.
I think that's probably what that was. That's
stationary for 48 seconds. So yes, that's what that one is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean the only option is he had damage that he didn't, you know, and he had repairs and didn't have his fast repair turned on. That's the other option there. But I think the 40-second stop and hold makes a lot more sense.
Dantas, I think he's got done for speeding as well because he's still stationary as well. Something's happened to Dantas because I was just looking. I was like, hold on a minute. Just in comparisons like Weissschlusel. What's happened with him?
His is much longer.
Here we go. This will give us the answers.
Battling all the way to the pit, the cones pit entry.
Yeah, and that's what's hurt him, isn't it? Yep. Just that being that extra ultra competitiveness, trying to gain those fine margins.
Ooh, little. Oh, that's why is because he actually caught the dirt coming into the pits, lost the rear bit, had to check up, and that gave Dantas a chance to go side by side.
That's
But
what
then they
cool
made
about it.
and then they made contact, and I don't know if that's damaged his car, but I think he's done. I don't think he's coming back out on track though.
So, Felix Smeltz, he's into the pits from 2nd place. Now, Weisslustel has come out in amongst all of this as the top driver who has pitted so far. Not enough from Soto to jump him. Jason Perry has pitted as well. Now, he's come out just behind Weisslustel at 3/10 the gap between them. Also, Gradwell and Bradshaw, they're visiting the pits. We're just over the half-an-hour mark, so we've got 9 minutes of racing left here from Norway in the SRF Weekend Warriors, presented by RaceVoice. So Samaus, okay, so he's back out. He's into 8th place. Ooh, he has come out 9/10 behind Flavio Andalo, so that might work out. Big up slipstreams. Meet Andalo going for the Andreas Bertoni award at the moment. He's at 29 places, but he is yet to stop. They will lose subsequently quite a few of those from his name, but take it while you've got it, Flavio. Take it while you got it.
Absolutely.
I would definitely anyway. I know you would as well, Charles. There he is right now. So it's what Samaus has done, because Samaus has come out in his pocket by himself. So well, this is going to give us an answer. Here's Marco Pinero into the pits. And, well, there's no door banging, there's no locking up, there's no drama from the Italian as he entered, unlike the cars behind him. Green carries on. He is indeed, and so's Overstreet. Ooh, now Overstreet coming in, so Pellegrini's come in as well. Overstreet's the interesting one for me, because she was locked in that massive, massive battle. Now, 2 of the drivers have obviously fallen by the wayside because their antics entering the pits. So it's realistically a dogfight between herself and Pellegrini, or could she try and get a bit of a jump or gain some time on Marnie?
Yeah, I mean she's really looking for, she's going to be in the battle for, a podium position in class. So Monty and Brewster, as we see Monty on pit exit, Brewster's taking that position in the Masters, but still yet to pit. But I noticed Nelson had a very long pit stop, and he's dropped down in the order. So he's been passed by Mitchell, who's just now pitting. But I don't know if that's going to, I don't think that's going to help him very much. He actually was about 6 seconds longer than most of the other people at the front of the field.
So let's have a little look at exactly how this is all panned out. So Overstreet is, well, in fact, I think she's lost a bit of time compared to Marnie. Maybe a little bit. Not too much now. Look at it. The gap is around about 3 seconds. Actually, sorry, it's 4.3. It's Jason Green in from the lead. Excuse me. So I do believe actually, yeah, Money has pipped a little bit more time out of Overstreet. Samaus versus Pinero. I mean, that gap is still massive. I think actually, if anything, Pinero has extended. It's around about 7 seconds. The gap. Jesus Rodriguez is in. Yeah, I think they're all going to have to pit. I don't think they're going to make it any longer. So that means Andalo and Ian Gibson will enter the pit lane. Has the overcut worked for Flavio Andalo here? That's the interesting one. The 07 there. That's Joshua Soto, isn't it?
It is.
It's getting a bit loud and Larry.
Yeah, it really was.
Now, Green versus Samaus. Where have they come out? Now, Green's still on the pit exit, so that means that Samaus is easily going to take that second place. There's Overstreet. Jim Brewster said, it's fuel-saving malarkey. Well, I'm the master of it. Hold my beer, watch this. He's going again.
Yeah, he's got one. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's got much more than one more lap in that car. So, but yeah, he's ringing it for all it's worth.
I think he's found a few, like a couple of molecules of fuel left in, in the fuel pipe or something like that to try and, he would be literally burning it to nothing. Probably maybe even cussing out coming down the pit lane, but that may well work out perfectly for him. But it is an uphill pit lane here, so let's not forget that. That could fall in his favour depending on where his fall against him, even depending on where his pit box is. So this is a battle right now for 8th. So Jason Perry had a really good round of pit stops. Jumped a few people. He's up into 8th, but he does help out Suzu, breathing down his neck. 4/10 the difference between these two, and your closest battle highest up the field right now.
Yeah, it's a really tight battle, and it is the closest one on track as we see. As I'm looking, Lesnoy is gaining on Rodriguez. As we see Brewster finally coming into the pits, he said, "I've had enough. Let's come in and get a little more fuel and go back out." York Monty in P4 having a great race. As we see Brewster come in, that puts Overstreet in P5. Yeah, about a 4.5 second gap behind Monty. So she's doing exactly what she needs to do in order to get a great finish out of this race. Pinero's just left everybody again. The gap 7.5 seconds over Samaus, who's got about a 3-second gap over Green. So we'll see if Green can work his way up and try to make a battle for P2 up there.
Now, we spoke about Flavio Andalu earlier and what the impression he could make except for that late stop. He's come out in 13th, Charles. He's climbed 23 places, starting in 36, so essentially at the back of the pack because Hugh Bertram did not make the start, unfortunately. So that has worked out to absolute perfection for him. Oh, see what's happened with Jason Perry. He's losing places. Is he disconnected? Is he? No, he hasn't come off track. I think that might be. He was having a big.
He was having connection issues. Yeah, he was. He was having connection issues earlier in the race.
Still not coming back though, Charles. This is a bit of a worry note now for the Brit. Will he come back?
Yep.
Oh.
Nope.
There we go.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
He's back again. That's scary for Vice Luzal.
That was the Grand Canyon of lags. I mean, that was massive. As you know, at some point, I know iRacing has a timer that says, okay, if I haven't talked to this car in 10, 12, 15 seconds, I'm disconnecting them to keep them from, coming back in and as we talked about earlier, jumping back into the middle of another car or a battle or something like that. And that had to be very, very borderline as we see him blinking again.
Scary stuff for Vice Luzal right now. It's battle for 7th place. I mean, I'll be praying that Perry's connection can just hold on for these next few laps. And we've got 2 minutes left on the clock. So Panera's about to come across. He's not far from coming across the line. This is going to go close, whether it's going to go one more lap or not. I know this could catch a few of our drivers out here. Yeah,
very well could. We had several cars that were that gambled a bit on pit stops. It looks like, based on the just timing and scoring, what I'm seeing as far as pit stoppage time, most of them are usually in the 10 to 11 seconds. We've got several cars that are under 9, which means they just probably took a lap less fuel. So yeah, it just depends on where Panero comes across the line.
Well, he was incredibly close, Charles. I will give you that one. And it's going to be fascinating to watch some of these drivers when they come across the line. Is the white flag going to be out? That's a big old slowdown for the 33. That's a bit of lap traffic they're getting past there. There is Marco Panero, our leader. I mean, 8.6 seconds clear. He had the shortest stop as everyone as well at 8.7 seconds stationary.
Mm-hmm.
So he truly believes he can get home on this, and he's got to have surely taken the white flag. Surely. I mean, otherwise, he's in a whole world of trouble, and it's going to unfold his race dramatically in the blink of an eye. The rate he's going out says to me, well, you never quite know. Do you race? If you've got one more lap, you're going to have to race back to the pit spots as quick as you can to get some fuel on splash and dash, go again without losing too much time, because you're definitely not, with what he's got left, he can't string that out for an additional lap. So it says to me the white flag has got to have been in the air. Here we go. He's running. Yeah, he's not coming back in again. So that says to me the checkered flag is out. Yes, it is. Panera's going to take the victory in 9 seconds. That is crazy.
It is incredible. He's just absolutely on fire.
Mouse is the second. Green rounds out that podium.
Great finish for Green.
Oh, that's astounding, isn't it? Great to see him back to being on form here. As Vice losing in the end, couldn't get past Perry, although they may say they don't blame him whatsoever. Still battles going on though, isn't there? This is what we'd love to see. You know, we're going all the way down to the wire, right to the last corner. Although a bit more spaced out. Although saying that for Vini, can he get the move done here on Kurt Nunes? He pulls out late on, but no, it's just not quite enough. He could have done with probably about another 300 or 400 yards, and he might have just pulled alongside him enough to make it really questionable. And Hannah's guessing up here in the commentary box. Hats off, Flavio Andalo up 23 places in 13. In the end, the strat of running it deep, Charles, I thought that might be the weaker one, but no, he made it work.
Yep, and congrats to Monty Nelson. Did manage to get a P2. So great job by him to get P2 in the Masters class. Gibson, Montgomery, and Barry in the in Spec 2. So great result for Ian Gibson to get the victory there.
Wow. So everyone has crossed the line pretty much.
And I believe, I think, I just want to say Kurt Nunez, I think, got P3 in the Masters class. He did. Yep.
He did, yeah. He did. Absolutely spot on there, Charles. Eagle-eyed as ever. But one thing isn't questionable, though, is Marco Pinheiro taking the victory here at 9.1 seconds, the winning victory margin over Felix Miles in second. Jason Green, your winner in Masters, Yugmani. And Overstreet, who I can see sat there waiting patiently to have a chat with us. We'll catch up with her shortly. Alberto Pellegrini comes home in sixth. Then it's Perry, Weisslusel, Rodriguez, Lesnoy, Soto in 11th. Then second place in Masters was Nelson and Darlow, Mayer Smith. Nunes going to run out the podium, as you mentioned, Charles. Third in class, 16th overall with Favini, Gradwell, Jacobson, and Brewster taking out the top 20. And it's into, Bradshaw renders that, speed in the pits cost him dearly and destroyed his race ultimately. Gibson, I do believe your winner in Spec 2.
Think so.
Second, 24th even with Berry and Vogele. Second and third in the Spec 2 category. It's a bit disappointing for the Spec 2. Normally see a few guys higher up, but well done on the field today. Even so, some great results of plenty. Pocock, 27th, then it's Montgomery, 28th, 29th was Alan McCain. And then one lap down was Jeff Rubka in 30th with Wallbolt, Swig, and Viglini as well, taking 33rd. Then into retirement, so Vandrick Dantas lost him on lap 18 after clear that damage caught him out. Shame he was on for a good result too. We lost Andrew Love on lap 13, but Tony on lap 7. Hugh Bertram did not make the start. Let's have a quick check. It's the son of our drivers. I've just been pointed out, rightly so, by our producer Lewis. The F1's going on. Get a move on, Tim. Megan, congratulations. A solid result for you today in 5th.
Thank you. That was a lot of hard work.
Definitely. It seemed that way, didn't it? I mean, you were under pressure for quite a bit of a race, certainly early on. There was a massive long trade from yourself, which I think ended all the way back in something like about P18 or 19. Just talk to us about how you made composed, just leading, the train of cars and holding on to that 5th place for so much of the race.
I kept telling myself, do not make a mistake, do not get a slowdown penalty, or it's going to be game over, because I saw in my mirrors that entire train of cars. I was like, if I have to slow down for that, I am so dead. So just keep pushing.
Well, congratulations, Megan. All that talking yourself, you might have looked a bit mad to anyone just seeing you sat at your rig, but it worked an absolute treat. That's Overstreet picking up 5th overall here today. Charles, who I think you've got Ian Gibson next, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Ian, get the win in Spec 2. Congratulations. We were talking about a lot of it seemed like a lot of the cars decided they wanted to try the undercut, but you came in fairly late, and it seemed like that worked out for you.
Yeah, I decided to leave it as late as possible because I didn't want to end up being mixed in with the leaders when I come out of the pits, as often happens. So I left it as I think I had about 1 lap of fuel in reserve when I came in, which made it kind of, I had about 4 laps to go, so I only had a splash and dash, and that was my intention, and it seemed to work. Yeah.
Yeah. So were there any concerns, because we were talking about some of the cars were taking maybe short fuel? Did you look like yours was a pretty standard pit stop? So no concerns about it going an extra lap?
No, I put an extra lap in just to be sure. So I had about 2 laps in reserve when I crossed the line at the end. So yeah, no worries there. My biggest concern of the whole thing was avoiding slowdowns, because they're all over the place on this track and really easy to get. And watching out for when other people got slowdowns, because that kind of blocks the traffic. So yeah. That was what I was thinking about for most of the race.
Well, there you go. Well, congratulations on your Spec 2 win.
Yeah, first one. Thank you.
All right, awesome.
Well, congratulations, Ian, on his first win in class. Talking of wins in class, now joined by Jorg Marnie. Jorg, I mean, 4th overall, not a bad day at the office with the win in class as well. Do you think that was the best you could have hoped for today?
In this car, yeah, definitely. I was already happy to finish the race, actually. So, seeing my history in the few last races. So yeah, I'm happy. I mean, at the beginning, Felix and I exchanged some slowdowns. So that's I let him pause again, and he had to let me pause again. And I had another slowdown again, and so he paused away again.
I mean, you say that. I mean, it's a solid result all round. I mean, definitely a lot easier than was last time out at Long Beach for any of the drivers. But, well, I will leave you to it as we're running well into overtime. Now, that's Jorg Marnie, your winner in Masters and 4th overall. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. What a race it has been. I've been Tim Cox with Charles Bashal and Lewis Araya. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you here in a week's time when the SRF Weekend Warriors and the Formula 4 Weekend Warriors return to Super Sunday on Apex Racing TV. We'll see you then. Good night.